The story, we're joined live from San Francisco by editor of the investigative website whowhatwhy.com, Russ Baker. Good to have you with us. So WikiLeaks says they have 250,000 files. This is a huge amount of data. Where do you think they got it all? Who do you think were their sources?
Well, the story that is out there is that it came from this private Bradley Manning, and very clearly these documents, which are not top secret, they're low-grade classified documents, that they were accessible to a huge number of people, perhaps several million people, through this military service. The reason this happened in the first place was because after 9/11, the concern was that there wasn't enough sharing of information, and that made sense that they wanted to make non-risky things available to a large cross-section of people in the military, in the State Department, and other parts of government. The whole story is very complicated because one does wonder how it's even possible, though, that somebody could download this vast quantity of documents without triggering any kind of an alarm. There are alarms that can be built into systems, and it would be the most basic sort of security measure.
Well, that's my next question. How do you think such a thing was possible?
Well, I don't know, but I have to tell you, as an investigative reporter, and based on the 5 years that I spent researching my book, Family of Secrets, I learned that so little is the way that we think it is, that there are layers and layers and layers of things, and that sometimes when there are leaks like this, there may be more in play. I'm not saying there is, but I think we need to look very, very hard at who gains in a situation like this. The documents themselves in the most recent release, they don't really tell us a lot we didn't know. Probably the allegation about Mr. Putin and the Italian premier and their relationship. That one it could be untrue. It's sort of intriguing. Some of the other things are a little bit intriguing. Most of them have a sort of a gossipy element. And basically you see diplomats doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is trying to assess the people they're dealing with and the problems that they're facing. So it's hard to figure this out. But it is not impossible, of course, that there could be some larger agenda at play, because there are always factions within a government who want to unsettle things. And frankly, I mean, who loses in this situation? Even though a lot of this concerns efforts that began under George Bush, Barack Obama is the person who is hurt worst, I think.
Now, during the Cold War, misinformation was used as a diplomatic tool, and lately, with this release of WikiLeaks documents, you have Mahmoud Ahmadinejad saying that he believes that a lot of what was said between U.S. and Middle Eastern leaders is also part of a diplomatic tool. Do you think that this data is genuine and trustworthy, or do you think there was any kind of, perhaps, other agenda going on?
I suspect that these documents are real and that they do reflect particular situations. I don't know that they reflect the totality of the situation, because people know not to put highly controversial things into writing in any form, because they realize that these things could come out. So I think they reflect sort of superficial things. But again, there could be some larger agenda at work. Sometimes leaks are set up, and I'm not saying they are here. This could be totally authentic. When leaks are set up, what they want to do is they want to put out real stuff in order to establish credibility, because there's something else that they're trying to slip out at the same time.
And what do you think the whistleblowers in this case were after? Do you think they were idealists, or are they actually after some kind of profit or fame?
Well, certainly they present themselves as idealists, and I understand the argument. And again, as a journalist and a supporter of free speech and openness in government, I'm all for us knowing as much as possible. The problem comes in with the fact that in any organization, in private conversation and in communications, you say things that you are not expecting the public to hear. Simply, if all of our private conversations and our communications were put out there, every email you or I ever sent, we might well be embarrassed. And so I don't know what it contributes to just release huge number of documents per se. I'm more in favor of releasing selected documents that tell a particular story, and then doing additional reporting to provide the public with the context that it needs to understand what is going on.
Now, just briefly, the website WikiLeaks has come under repeated hacker attacks. Do you think that it could go further? And do you think the lives of the employees, Julian Assange and everyone of that, could be at risk because of this?
It's hard to say. I mean, the reality is, as long as he's as visible as he is, I think he's probably safe. Certainly, there is a kind of a recklessness and an inherent danger to the whole operation itself, plus the charges that have come up against him in Sweden recently. So this whole situation is extremely volatile. And what's interesting is it's sucking this sort of classic kind of mainstream media into it, too, because establishment outfits like the New York Times don't want to get left behind, as everybody's scrambling to get a piece of this thing. If it blows up a particular way, everybody could end up with egg on their faces.
All right, investigative journalist Russ Baker, thanks.